Well, well, well. Guess what? Didn't take long. Joe Biden's team says they want to go on a national lockdown for 4 to 6 weeks to avoid a COVID pandemic. And they claim that it's actually possible to revive the economy at the same time. I don't need to be a rocket scientist to tell you this would be an economic disaster of epic proportions. Hello everyone, this is Mr. Obvious, and today on the internet, we've got to talk about Joe Biden and his plans for a national lockdown. It's no secret. If you're a Republican, that is, or a conservative, or simply someone who voted for Trump, you know that Biden wants to shut the country down. It was in the debates, but a surprising amount of people who voted for him have no clue. And this is something I've talked about in the past, how Biden supporters don't actually know what his policies are. So today we're going to talk about the future lockdown, Rudy Giuliani, Donald Trump's lawsuits, and a lot of the things going on, because this is a really, really crazy time, folks, including a massive cyber attack on basically the whole world. But before we do, I have to thank everyone. As you probably know, my channel was currently demonetized. I believe it's because I am talking about the election, about possible fraud. I've always tried to provide context and be fair and reasonable, provide sources, and I let people know, certain things may not be true. We'll find out. I just want to thank everyone that showed their support by joining me on Patreon and Subscribestar. I got a lot of messages from everybody, and it was really heartwarming. I'm very touched by your support. I also want to give a special thanks to The Quartering and other YouTubers who mentioned this problem, mentioned this demonetization, this censorship and suppression from big tech and the media. Again, thanks to everyone. Let's continue. So the first thing I want to talk about is, you may have noticed that the other day, the internet was not working. And by internet, I kind of mean a whole bunch of websites. Here you can see on Twitter, Reuters, YouTube outage affects 250,000 users, says fixing error on the platform. Well, it was actually really crazy what happened yesterday. What appeared to be a massive DDoS attack on the entire world. This is a website that tracks people having problems accessing websites, and you can see that YouTube, YouTube TV, YouTube Music, Google, Comcast, Google Play, Verizon, many other big websites like Netflix and Twitter, all of them were being attacked by this DDoSing. And I actually have a clip where I recorded the attack, and I'll let it play now. Are you watching this, folks? This is real-time evidence of a massive DDoS attack on the entire internet. I have never seen anything like this. We are witnessing an attack on a grand scale. This is absolute chaos. YouTube is down, websites are down, Verizon is down, Netflix is down, all these websites are going down. Look at the number of attacks, folks. We're over 270. I cannot even follow this, and it's coming from all over the world.
I refuse to go along with this, and I've seen through all of your lies, Barack Obama, you wicked, wicked devil!
Now, I cannot tell you what this attack was, but it was insane. They literally took down, well, in part, some things were working, some things were not. You probably remember yesterday, YouTube videos and live streams weren't working. That was because of this attack, I think. And who knows, folks, who knows, but I wanted to let you guys know. So, here on the Daily Mail, Trump's 230 pages of, quote, election fraud affidavits include a Detroit poll watcher who says he thought the military wouldn't vote Joe Biden, and that independent watchers were liberal because they wanted to work in Brooklyn. Look, I have a feeling that this article is negative towards Trump, but the point is, Trump is doing a lot, okay? He currently has a bunch of separate lawsuits. Some of them are about fraud. Yes, this is true. But other ones are simply about broken process. Now, let me explain. The courts ordered these places that were counting ballots in key swing states like Pennsylvania and Michigan to allow Republican designated poll watchers to watch the count. And this is an anti-fraud mechanism. It's so that people do not cheat. You need eyes on the ballots. What did those places do? What did Pennsylvania and Michigan do? Well, they did not allow, and this happened in more than one place, I believe, they did not allow Republican poll watchers to watch the count. And this, my friends, is a huge red flag for impropriety, for fraud. But even if there was, let's say for sake of argument, that when those poll watchers were thrown out on the street, when they boarded up the windows and nobody could see in their shady dealings, even if there was 0% fraud, which statistically is impossible, you will always have a little bit of fraud. That's just normal. It's kind of like how if you work for a store, there's always a certain amount of product that goes missing through destruction or theft. It's called shrinkage. But here's the problem. It doesn't matter. Even if there was hypothetically 0% fraud, the fact that they expelled those poll watchers was illegal. It was an extreme violation of not only the state laws, I believe even federal law. Ballots have to be treated equally, and they need witnesses, eyes on the ballot. And there was no eyes on the ballot. And what needs to be done is either we have some sort of audit, some sort of recount, and some sort of investigation into this, or, and I believe this is what the Trump lawsuits are arguing, not about fraud, but about throwing out ballots because they are no longer eligible ballots, because nobody was there to watch. It's a compelling argument. And of course, according to lawyers like Rudy Giuliani, we have a lot of witnesses, a lot of people who say they witnessed fraud or simply wrong process. The media is trying to push this narrative that, well, there's no such thing as fraud. First of all, this is a lie. The media is lying. They're spreading false information and disinformation. There has been fraud. For example, a social worker was arrested and charged with 137 acts of fraud. Now, I'm not saying that this happened everywhere. I'm not even saying that it's a common thing. What I am saying is that it happened. So there's no way the media can say that there's been no fraud when we have official charges of fraud. Do you see what I mean? Do the Democrats and the media think that there was some sort of cheating going on? It's really strange, isn't it? So let's talk a little bit more about Joe Biden's magnificent lockdown and why exactly it would be a disaster. And, this is also a reason that, the whole narrative about listening to scientists, it's a very naive narrative. Just because a scientist is good at physics, that doesn't mean he would be a good daycare worker. That doesn't mean he would be good with children. Just because he knows how to build and fly rockets, doesn't mean he knows how to understand parenthood. The point here is scientists are smart, yes, and they could have good opinions, but at the end of the day, they're not economists, they're not businessmen, they don't know about the economy. Here it says, a coronavirus advisor to President-elect Joe Biden believes that shutting down businesses nationally for between 4 to 6 weeks could help the United States from entering COVID hell, as they call it. Dr. Michael Osterholm said Wednesday that a national lockdown may be the best way to keep hospitalizations and deaths down across the country until a vaccine can be distributed. Now, we've already seen the current effects of a lockdown and of multiple lockdowns on the U.S. economy. It has not been good. We've lost a record number of jobs, businesses, people's lives have been destroyed. And now Joe Biden is talking about locking down the country again, as well as the advisor that he hired, his chief, wants to shut the country down nationally for 6 weeks. How do you think this is going to end, folks? It will cripple the economy and destroy millions of lives. Those jobs won't come back. Scientifically speaking, sure, if you lock down a country, you get less disease. But is it worth it? And a lot of people are going to suffer and lose their jobs. Now I want to look at some of the claims because I believe this is important to talk about. The media is not happy with people who talk about the election right now, especially when it questions their narrative. The media keeps lying and spreading false information that there has not been any fraud. That is not what the witnesses say, and we have some proven cases, factual, of fraud. Either way, it's worth investigating. These people have signed sworn affidavits. They're swearing under oath that what they're saying is true. Take it with a grain of salt, I guess. I'm going to read you some of this. Quote, we keep hearing the drumbeat of where's the evidence? But right here, 234 pages of sworn affidavits from real people, real allegations signed with notaries, McAney said on Sean Hannity's show on Tuesday. None of this has been verified yet, but we have sworn affidavits, we have people who swear that this is what they saw, and they're willing to testify under oath meaning if they lie, they will be punished. One of the things I wanted to highlight in this story was that, did you know that Donald J. Trump's vote count has gone up? His popular vote has increased. I believe it's currently at 73 million to Joe Biden's 75 million. Isn't it weird? How did that happen? Well, certain places had recounts, certain places fixed their so-called glitches, and Trump's votes are going up? I wonder, is it possible that if we conduct a recount in many of these states, these swing states, that Trump would actually have way more votes? The simple logic is simple. It would show that something went wrong during the original count, and that would be a big, big problem. A recount is not going to show more votes for Trump if all the votes were counted correctly. If they were not counted correctly, then guess what? Something's wrong. We honestly just need to audit the whole thing and get to the bottom of this as fast as possible. If Joe Biden is the true winner, so be it. Fair is fair. But it's not over until we have these investigations, until they count everything and they do what they gotta do. But we'll see what happens, folks. I believe Trump's plan is to take it to the Supreme Court, and what they decide could decide the fate of the 2020 presidency. But that, my friends, is merely the obvious. Well, that's all for now, folks. What do you think about this story? Let me know down below in the comment section. I think the media and everybody, they really ignore this stuff, and I think they keep pushing lies, and they're saying that there is no fraud, there is no anything, there's no investigation, there's no lawsuit, it's not real. You can say it's not real, but that doesn't change real life. So take that as you will. We'll await further information. Anyhow, thanks for watching. This has been Mr. Obvious, and I'll see you all next time.